Hey, Frankie Flowers, where we're going to answer your garden questions live right here and kind of turn that Garden of Eden into the Garden of Eden. Make your garden glory my job in order to help you. But as well, we have a beautiful community here of people that join us each and every week from 9 to 9:30 to answer your garden questions, to fill in your garden glory. So if I don't get to some of your questions, the people in this community will be there to help you. Hey, if you want to know who I am, my name is Frank Ferragini. That's my legal name. But I'm known as Frankie Flowers. The reason for that is I'm a 4-time best-selling garden author. My family business, Bradford Greenhouses, located just north of Toronto, 2 locations, one in Bradford, one in Barrie. I've worked my entire life in and around plants, and the passion continues to flourish, continues to grow, and that's why I'm here each and every week. Hey, good morning already to Pietro out there this morning. Tanya as well, good morning to you. Tanya and myself, coming up, we'll be doing some planters at TBG. I just want to make a mention of TBG. There's a trial garden that's happening at TBG. And I'm going to start this right at the beginning. If you guys are looking for something to do and you're thinking about, hey, how can I learn more about gardening and different things that are out there, always check out your local botanical gardens. Here's a little look at TBG and some of the great things that they're offering. But I want to draw attention right over to the left of your screen there on June the 11th. Through the Garden Gate, Secret Gardens of Witchwood. This is where you get to do an amazing garden tour of some of the garden spaces. This is June 11th and June 12th. Those proceeds are going to go to TBG, but you get to see some of the wonderful private gardens in the city of Toronto. It's pretty damn cool. I'll tell you that, pretty damn cool. So that's just a little bit about the TBG and what's going to be going on there. But Tanya and myself are going to be doing some containers and also having some fun with some of the trials as well. One thing I really want to talk to you before we get into the garden Q&A this morning is about spongy moss. So if you forgive me, last year we had an infestation of gypsy moss. Well, gypsy moss now have been renamed spongy moss. So if you're hearing that, a lot of people are asking me right now, will there be another bad year of gypsy moss? We're starting to get some reports, spongy moss that is. And if you're looking for some resources, what you're going to find, and I'm going to pop this up as well, is that because of last year, many municipalities have actually put a lot of information up on their website. So this is an example of York Region's website, a little bit about spongy moss itself, and the reason why it was introduced, and then also what we can do to protect our trees, some of the control measures that we can do. And if you're driving around and noticing a bunch of burlap bands tied around the base of trees, those are spongy moss traps, those burlap bands. And they'll trap the caterpillars by wrapping that band, but the caterpillars on some of those sunnier days will go in and hide in those bands. And that's a great way for you to kind of remove them, as well as they can even lay their eggs in some of those areas as well. But right now is the time where we need to keep our eyes out. And if you're thinking about a treatment method, what can you use to treat gypsy moss? The product that you can use is called BTK. BTK is Bacillus thuringiensis, and that can be treated on the spongy moss. So let's keep our eye open. Let's do the report. You'll actually see many different information that's out there. If you just type in Google spongy moss, you'll see a whole bunch of different information to help you along. We got Susan saying good morning from Markham this morning. We have another question here too from Matthew. How was your suit sale? Just wanted to know. Yesterday, so I have a really cool job. If you don't know, if you watch me just here on my garden Q&As, Monday through Friday, I'm on breakfast television. Monday through Friday, I get to share some of my garden passion, but each and every day, I get to tell you the weather. It kind of all ties in, weather and gardening together. But because of that, Yorkdale Shopping Center, just in Toronto, they're the ones that provide me with clothing to make me look kind of fancy and funky. And with that, we do an annual sale. Dina and myself, one of the other hosts on BT, and that annual sale, we sell off and we try to raise money for Red Door. And yesterday was the sale as well as Friday. And Matthew, it went great. It was great to see a lot of people there as well. It was really just a good time. And it's also a great way that we see these clothes don't go into landfills. These clothes go on and help another. So like $10 pants, $40 jackets. And then as well, what happens is we raise money. So that's really good. Carolyn's asking, is it too late to split hostas? Hostas are so durable, guys, that they're a bulletproof plants. Hostas sedums, it's not too late. We are going into a hot week, though. So if I look at the forecast in Southern Ontario, today's going to be a daytime high of 24. Tomorrow, we're going to top 30 degrees. So I wouldn't really split your hostas today. I would wait near the end of the week. By the time we get into Friday and Saturday, we're going to start to see some cooler temperatures. I wouldn't want to split today and then them go into a period of real extreme heat. that would stress them. It's better to split them when we're going into a period of cooler weather. And then after we split them, we give them a good watering. But hostas are very durable and very easy to split almost at any time of the year. I like splitting hostas earlier in the spring season because their eyes are just popping out, so I can see the size of the plant. Then I'm not really dealing with all those leaves and foliage, but it's a lot easier for me to kind of control and to do as well. Linda, good morning to you as well. 2 months to the cruise. Yes, that's the cruise that we're doing, the Emerald Cruise. That's going to take us up that Rhine River in the Floriade. I got some other information about it. This is going to be the most epic gardening cruise and cruise ever. Just to let you know, I really haven't been on many cruises. No, I've been on this many cruises. So this is actually going to be my second cruise, because at the end of this month with Breakfast Television, I will be on the Disney Wish Cruise, broadcasting weather live from the side of the ship. So that's cool. So 2 cruises in 2 months. Morning from Brampton. Here's the question that we have from Kelly. I purchased veggies plants. Oh, awesome. Beans, cucumbers, zucchinis, tomatoes, peppers. Can planting in planters work? Can you suggest tips and success? What else can I plant? Brampton area, it's full of clay. So this is the best way for you to grow, is in a raised container or in a pot. What I would recommend is for you to use larger pots for smaller pots. And with that, the more soil mass, the better it's going to be for you. Say, for instance, a tomato plant, 16-inch container should be where I feel comfortable with. You got to make sure that you're using potting soil in those pots. And with that, we do have to do some fertilizing, because potting soil, even though most potting soils that you purchase have a little bit of fertilizer mixed in, they really don't have a lot. So we do need to fertilize. The container itself needs to have drainage. So if there's no holes in the bottom, either create drainage or drill holes in the bottom. Place that in full sun. Full sun is so key for you. And those are the other things. The other thing that I want to mention too is you can use, when you're planting as well, is you can use the shake and feed. This is Miracle Grow's shake and feed. The one with the red top is the one that's for vegetable plants and everything from tomatoes to peppers. The reason why I really like the shake and feed, and indeed I do work with Miracle Grow, I've had great success with this. And the reason why I really enjoy this is it has calcium. And by having calcium, what that will do is it's going to minimize the risk of getting blossom end rot. And blossom end rot is that scarring that you see on the bottom of a tomato and or pepper plant. Sometimes you can even see it on zucchini. Sometimes you can even see it on eggplant. That enrichment of calcium will allow that plant to take in more nutrients and will minimize that risk. With the shake and feed, at the time of planting, you can actually just mix it in the soil, and that will naturally and slowly release over the 3-month period. If you really want your vegetables to grow, then you back it up with a water soluble. But those are some great tips that are for you. Some plants that I wouldn't grow in containers are pumpkins. They just get too big. Some things that we can grow and we can actually trellis, cucumber plants, we can grow them vertically. So we can actually put them in a trellis and let them hang on that trellis instead of them taking up a bunch of square footage. But in a container, it can look quite nice. We can grow strawberries in a container. There's so many different things. And of course, herbs. You can grow all those in a container. Paula says, good morning. Paula, good morning to you. You always put a smile on my face. Of course, I hope your day is blessed, by the way. Here we go. Maria, are they called LDD as well? Mississauga is doing an aerial spray tomorrow. The aerial sprays that you're seeing that are happening right now in municipalities are all for the control or spongy moths. It's a non-harmful application that they're doing. And with that, that's what they're trying to do to control. So the LDD, let me see what LDD means. I'll put LDD Mississauga in my computer here. And I've never heard that reference before. Yeah, it is. It's the LDD Gypsy Moth program. It's the Limatra dispar. So it's another form that they're using, which is similar to BTK. So it is an LDD treatment that's happening. And you're going to see, if you see overhead spraying, that's what they're trying to do, is to save some plants that are out there. And of course, these are all approved by Health Canada. So that's the main thing. Good morning from Lyle. Lyle is a great little community. If you're wondering where the heck is Lyle, if you ever do a drive from Barrie through over to Angus, and then you're heading your way over to Collingwood, you usually work your way through a little community called Lyle, which is really quite nice. Good morning from Caledon. Can you spray fruit trees after they're done blooming? And what can you use? Thank you for sharing your talent with us. It's child labor. That's my talent. Just lots of hours. Yeah, if you want to apply any spray to fruit trees, it's after the bloom period has done. You can monitor and just use an insecticidal soap that you can be using, like a Bug Be Gone. You can also be spraying even a fungicide like Garden Defense that you can be using as well. It depends on what the fruit is that you're growing and what the common problem that you're having. But occasional spraying of fruit trees is really important. And then monitoring those fruit trees to see if there's any insects that are happening or any markings on the leaves. If there's markings on the leaves and it's a disease, then we got to control the disease that's over. But if you take the time and you just take a look in growing fruit trees at home, and in your Google search, I would write growing fruit trees at home and then type in the word university. What'll happen is you'll see a bunch of universities that have put out pamphlets and information about growing fruit trees at home that is not influenced by any dollars. And because of that, you're getting some wonderful information that's there. And it's pretty comprehensive to go on to what's called an integrative pest management solution. Integrative pest management is a way of using some natural controls like beneficial bugs, also monitoring, so watching out and looking for the pests before they are really a big problem, and then utilizing things like an insecticide and a fungicide. Those two things. And then we want to make sure that those are all approved by Health Canada. So that way we're nice and safe, because we want to be safe when we're gardening, because that's the whole purpose of gardening, is to make things better. Here we go. Another question from Carla. Good morning, Frankie. My rose bush looks like it's dead, except for a branch. Is there any chance to revive it? So it depends on the rose itself, right? So roses, if they're grafted, so let's say that it's a Floribunda, a Grandiflora, a hybrid tea rose. So those roses that we typically see when we go to the florist, most of those are grafted varieties. And if they're grafted, what you'll notice is the stems come down, boom, 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 and they come to like almost a center bulb before they break into the root. That center bulb is the graft point. If we see growth above that point, yeah, we can salvage that rose. If we see growth below that point, it's turned into a wild rose. So it's actually gone onto the rootstock, and it will really never bloom or perform the way that you wanted it to. So then you remove it. So if that stem is above that area, you'll be fine. You just burn off the dead and it'll come back. But if it's below, it's a wild rose and you'll need to replace it. Roses, get sometimes a bad rap that they're hard to take care of. But there are so many different variety of roses. There's a series of roses called the 49th Parallel that was developed by Vineland in the Niagara region that are cold hardy roses that perform exceptionally well. So check those out. Canadian Explorer Series roses, check those out. Knockout roses, check those out. There are a bunch of rose varieties that are disease, insect resistant, and winter hardy and easy to grow overall. Jane, good morning to you from Ancaster. Speaking of Ancaster, speaking of Vineland, hey, coming up this morning, actually, I'm going to be heading my way there for a little talk this afternoon. Where will I be going this afternoon is I'm going to be going here. I'm going to be going to Two Sisters Vineyards this afternoon, where we're going to drink some wine, learn about 3 different wines. We're going to learn about their Chardonnay, their Rosé, and one of their reds. And what we're going to do is talk about those wines. And then I'm going to create containers inspired by those wines. So we're going to be sitting out by the pond, talking plants, drinking wine on a Sunday in Niagara-on-the-Lake. That to me is like the perfect Sunday. Like that to me is the end of a great weekend right there. Had a great weekend already too. So if you're going to be joining me this afternoon, that's great. I think most of the tickets are sold out, but if you want to inquire, just give Two Sisters Vineyards a call this morning if you're in that area and you want to come by. The event runs from 3 to 5, and I'll be there a little bit earlier than that to set up. My plants are already loaded. Good morning, Frankie. Was wondering if you could recommend any YouTube Ontario Canadian gardening channels. All I can find are American. Thank you. Frankie Flowers has a YouTube channel, and this YouTube channel, this streams on there as well. And there are some great Canadian gardening channels. Mark Cullen still has a lot of wonderful information that's out there. And Mark is a really, really good friend of mine. The Tattooed Gardener, Paul, another good friend of mine that has an immense amount of gardening information that's out there. Nikki Jabor, I think I have her book right over here. Let me just go grab that really quickly. Nikki's another great friend. If you're looking for information out on the East Coast, Nikki's one of the main gardeners that gardens out in Atlantic Canada. So there are tons of Canadian gardeners that are out there with great garden information. Maybe what I'll do is I'll do my Frankie's favorite YouTube channels. I'll do a blog on that coming up as well. I'm still building the website. I want it to be right. I want it to be great before I launch it. So that's why it's taking a little bit of time. So my new website, frankieflowers.com, the old website's still sitting there. But the new website, we have a bunch of new content coming up. We're working on some more information for you as well, and some other opportunities where you can learn a little bit more, where you can even do some individuals with me. And as well, we're going to be building some garden courses. We are building garden courses right now, but I'm just too picky. I want to make things good. Okay, Crystal Allen, is that a rule in splitting and trimming bushes, cooler weather? Yes, generally, if we are pruning and we are dividing and or transplanting, we never want to do it when we're going to be going under a hot, sunny period of weather. Hot, sunny, dry weather is really, really stressful on plants. Plants generally like a cool day. Well, they like a cool night and a warm day. But when we go on to extreme periods of heat, so we're going into Monday, Tuesday, humidex values into the upper 30s, highs right around 29 to 30 degrees. That's a big shock to a bunch of plants that are out there that have been just kind of growing, enjoying the 20s. It's perfect. So the best time to divide and or split or even to do some pruning is right before a period of cooler weather. And the best time to divide, transplant, and even plant is right before we get some rain that comes in too. That's kind of the ideal times. But yeah, Crystal, that is a rule. That is a Frankie Flowers rule over there. Good morning, Frankie. That's the same question that we had for the recommending things. Here we go as well. Another question, Debbie. Good morning from Maidstone. I don't know where Maidstone is. My black lace elders, cool. They're actually called Zambuca, is sometimes they're referred to, seem to be dying slowly, one by one. Any suggestions? So the black lace elders are an excellent, if you want to have a cut leaf Japanese maple, but the area you live in, they're a little bit, they don't grow as well. This is where this cut leaf black lace elder does really well. It's a cut leaf. The dieback could be due to a couple different things, but I would be more inclined to think that it would be some sort of a borer, or which is an insect that's kind of causing that issue. I would love, Debbie, if you could send me a picture of the area and of your elders. So a wide shot of the area and then a tight shot as well of the plant itself. You're going to send that to Frankie with an IE, Frankie@frankieflowers.com. My email, Frankie@frankieflowers.com. Once I take a look at that picture, I can see whether it's a disease, an insect. Was there any work that was done around where the root system's disturbed? Any tunneling, burrows that indicate that mice or moles are in that area that are eating away? If not, then we got to look at the base of the stem to see if there's any sawdust around the base of the stem. Are they rotting and dying out? These are all different things that will allow me to figure out what is going on with that black lace elder, which is a fantastic, beautiful plant, beautiful color contrast, beautiful foliage, gives really great garden interest out there as well. Morning. Just a shout out here this morning from May. Good morning from Rosso. Rosso's beautiful. Here we go about a little hydrangea. Looks like it died. Any suggestion, as we planted it last year? Mostly shade with some sun. So most hydrangeas would actually prefer a little bit more sun than shade. Some of the little, this is a mini mobet hydrangea. This variety, I'm not completely familiar with this variety, but if it's a large leaf variety, but I will also let you know, depending upon where you live, Lois, some of my hydrangeas, my large leaf hydrangeas, are just starting to come out, especially in some of my more shaded spots of the garden. So perhaps just give it a little, maybe another week's time. The reason why it had died is maybe it's just not winter hardy to your area. So we would have to look at the hardiness zone of that. If you want a nicer, smaller hydrangea that's going to really be bulletproof for you, look at Little Lamb's Ears. Little Lamb's Ears is a really good one. And then also another small variety hydrangea is Bobo. Look at Bobo. Those are two hardy hydrangeas. They're going to enjoy a little bit more sun than shade, but they'll be absolutely fantastic for you overall. Here we go from Donna. Good morning in Gananoque. Donna, I remember playing minor hockey in Gananoque. You guys like your minor hockey there. You guys got some good hockey out there, by the way. Good morning. I have a beautiful flowering dipladenia. Dipladenias are a fantastic tropical flowering plant that's drought and heat tolerant. Nice trumpet-shaped flowers. Rio dipladenia is one of the more popular ones. Can I prune it and how often? Thank you. Just remove those dead heads. So you're just removing the blooms. If you want to prune it for shaping, you can prune it at any time. How often? As much as you want for shaping. But generally, those dipladenias are almost self-cleaning and take care of themselves. That's why they are so popular overall. Here we go. Good morning, Frankie. Can you recommend a perennial close that will be able to winter in the Brampton area? There are no coleus varieties that will overwinter outdoors. Coleus are all annuals. However, some of the heucheras and or coral bells give you the same foliage of a coleus, and they're a shade type perennial plant that's known for their foliage that I would recommend instead. So you can go out, there's some ones that have like a redder type leaf. There's others that have almost a dark black purpley leaf. There's ones that have a rust colored leaf. So take a look at all the other commonly known as coral bells, and that would be a good replacement for a coleus. And it will overwinter in Brampton, no problem. Coleus are fantastic though. There are coleus varieties for sun and or for shade. Good morning from Innisfil. What is a good fast growing maple tree? So the fastest growing maple trees are Norway maples. Downfall of a Norway maple is because they are so fast, they're a soft wood. So Norway maples are generally the maples that in high wind situations, you see those branches break. If you want a fast growing, strong maple tree in Innisfil, I would do Acer rubrum, which is just the classic red maple. That's not the purple leaf now. It's green leaf now that turns a nice vibrant red fall color. Acer rubrum, the red maple. Fast growing maple, strong maple with a wonderful fall color. So if you're looking for that, if you're looking for something in a backyard that's not going to get overly big, you can look at some of the different culminer maples that are out there. And there are some red maples that are culminer. So they're going to be growing more upright and in a culm than what they will be growing out. So there you go for that. Can you please, this is a question too for Paula, can you please speak a bit about companion planting? Thank you. So companion planting is where we're actually getting plants that work really well together in the sandbox. Generally, we're doing companion planting when we're planting vegetables and or fruits, because we're trying to figure out which ones are going to work well with each other. Probably the best example of companion planting is an indigenous planting called the Three Wise Sisters. The Three Wise Sisters is where we have corn in the center. So we plant corn. Then we plant a pole bean to grow up the corn. So the corn is supporting the pole bean. Neat thing about the bean is the beans actually put nitrogen into the soil, helping out the corn. And then we plant squash. So the squash actually shades all the root system, benefits from the nitrogen from the bean, and then that pole is growing up the pole of the corn. Three Wise Sisters. Another great companion planting is where we plant basil close to your tomato plants. Those guys will, some feel, benefit the flavor of the tomato plant, but they actually repel aphids, so they help out. Nasturtiums. Nasturtiums are great in and near and around some of the vegetable gardens because nasturtiums, edible flower, peppery taste, fantastic. But also the nasturtium is a host plant, meaning that the insects will go and eat the nasturtiums and stay away from the other vegetable plants. Plants that you shouldn't plant together, there's one of the best things that you can always remind yourself, never plant plants that sound alike together, tomatoes and potatoes. The reason why we don't plant those close together is they both come from the same family. They both come from the deadly nightshade family. So if your tomatoes get disease, your potatoes get disease. If your potatoes draw in an insect, it'll go over your tomatoes. We never plant them close together because if we do, we'll actually increase their amount of chance of getting disease and or insect failure. And then garlic. Garlic's one of those really great companion plantings that we can actually put in and around our rose bushes. So planting some garlic in and around our rose bushes will put up the garlic, which we can later harvest, but as well, garlic and anything from the garlic family, even including alliums, will repel many insects. So that's a little bit about the world of companion planting. I like companion planting. I like knowing, like, that's kind of like me, even with people. I like to try to figure out how to put people together to make them better, to make them like, you know, my friend Gio, he calls it superheroes, to make you like a superhero. And I want you to be a superhero in the garden as well. Okay. So let's see what else we got here for some questions as well. So we got, here we go, maybe just more of a comment than a question. Dennis, good morning from Barrie. Happy planting and caring for everyone we've planted. Indeed, now's the time that you got your planting done. It's about maintaining and caring. Reminder, deep and frequent waterings. If you can water in the morning. Watering in the morning will create a drier garden at night, which reduces insects and disease. What I mean by deep and frequent watering is soaking your gardens versus just sprinkling your gardens. Containers, if they're smaller pots, they will need daily watering. If they're larger pots and you've used a moisture control soil, like Miracle-Gro's moisture control soil, you may only need to be watering those 2 to 3 times per week. You got to keep an eye on them, but water, once they're getting established, is so key. Miriam, good morning to my good friend Miriam. Frankie, is there any type of clematis or clematis which blooms the whole summer long. Is it too late to buy clematis or clematis? I want a real purple clematis in my garden. Please help me pick one right now. There are several varieties of clematis, and there are some of the clematis varieties that will bloom a little bit longer for you. One of the best clematis varieties is called Nellie Moser. There's also the Jackmani. Jackmani clematis, let me just remind, is a really classic variety. And that guy there is more of a lighter purple. So actually the Jackmani is deep to light purple. So what I would say to you is it's going to bloom from early to late summer, long bloom period, extremely hardy. I'm just going to pull it up here just so that you guys can take a look at this guy too. So that way everybody can see what I'm talking about. So as this is me doing things on the fly. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to a Chrome tab. I just went to a quick website. I haven't vetted this website. So let's just take a look at it. So there's the bloom of Jackmani. This is a late large flowering clematis. So clematis or clematis either flower are summer flowering or spring flowering. These guys flower on new wood. This is one of the classic, hardiest, strongest, most vibrant clematis that I've ever worked with. And it's probably one of my go-tos that are out there. As a climber, clematis are unsurpassing in their long flowering presence. But a reminder with clematis, so clematis or clematis, doesn't matter how you say it, they like a sunny top, so they like to be planted in full sun. They like a shaded bottom, so either putting mulch around the base of it and or planting a perennial in front to keep the roots shaded. And they like alkaline soil. If they're planted in acidic soil, they will not perform well. So there's a little bit about the good old clematis. Good morning from Cannington. Good morning to you too, Mary Hill. Hope you're having a great day. Another shout out to Newmarket. Desi, good morning to you from Newmarket. And we got another one. I'll be driving through this community on my way towards Niagara-on-the-Lake today. Good morning from Oakville. My rosebush looks like they're not coming back. Is there a way to revive them? If they're black and or white at this time, there's no way to revive them. That's where they have to go up to the big compost pile in the sky. And you got to look at the varieties that you planted, and maybe let's try to figure out a better, hardier variety for you. Our gardens are survival of the fittest. That's how I like to garden. And what that means is that if I plant something and it fails, I maybe will give it one other chance, that same variety. But if it fails again, I go to another variety. If I have plants in my garden or around my garden that constantly get disease and insects, boom, they're out of there. I got to get something that's more disease and insect resistant. If I have plants that I've been waiting to bloom and for 3 years they really haven't bloomed, boom, they're out of there. Because there are better plants that we can suggest and better plants that will do for us, that will do really well for us. Sue is saying, good morning from Singhampton as well. We have a shout out to Lindsay, which that area, I hope you guys are doing all well, from all our friends in Uxbridge to Peterborough to Lindsay that are still, even the Ottawa area, some of them still waiting for power, about 10%. Good morning from Barry, just wondering how to get rid of clover from my grass. You can use Weed Be Gone. Actually, I have it right here. So the Weed Be Gone, you're going to have to probably do a couple of treatments of Weed Be Gone and then hand removal and thickening up the lawn. That's the only way to get rid of that clover. So there's no quick fix. Some people are embracing clover and actually mixing clover in with grass seed because clover does well in more shaded areas. But the Weed Be Gone will knock it back 2 applications. And then any of those other areas where it's still kind of growing, that's when you do hand removal. If it's in fairly large patches when you're doing your removal, you can just sod right over the top of those patches and it'll work out well for you. We got another question here. And this one here is from Lori Charles. Hi, Frankie. Last year I planted a hydrangea. Yeah. Didn't cut it back and I was told not to. Should I cut it back now? I see little growth at the bottom. So wherever you don't see any growth and those stems are white and dry, cut those stems off and let that bottom growth come through. Because all those white and or dry areas are dead wood. So we want that plant to give energy to the areas that are living, and we want to clean up the dead, especially at this time. We've waited long enough to see that it can bud out and where it's budding out from. I got the same question, says Mary to Debbie. I wonder what that question was. Did I see that question? I'm going to just go up here to see if I can see Debbie's question. I hope I didn't. Well, let's see where we go with that, because I don't see Debbie's question because we got a bunch that are happening here. We got a good reply here too. Now this here, I do hand removal of clover after there's rain is easiest. I've reduced the amount of it, but still working on it. There you go. That's the clover in the lawn that's there. It's always easiest. This is a really good tip there, Jane, as well. If you are weeding your garden or planning to weed your garden, weeding your garden after a rain or removing weeds from your lawn after a rain is the easiest time, because the ground is nice and soft and those roots haven't really anchored themselves in. They'll just slide out like butter. Well, kind of like butter. And if we're removing dandelions, we got to get the taproot, because if we break off that taproot, guess what? It grows back. So weeding after a rain, good tip. Great tip as well. There we go. We got everybody reply. This is what I love, guys, because what happens is that people are answering other people's questions, and we're helping out here as a community, because I can't get to all the questions. I can't answer them all, but I love it in the comments where people are answering the questions, which is great. This is for Anne. This will be the last one. Good morning. I have a beautiful 9-bark. 9-barks are great. That has a problem. It's about 7 years old, 6 feet tall, but the backside that is in shade and has some powdery problems. The stems are turning gray. The leaves are crisped up, and it's a white fine powder. So that's powdery mildew. It's in the more shaded area where it's probably not getting good air circulation and or airflow. So that's the reason why it's getting that powdery mildew. You can use a fungicide on it, like a garden defense, to kind of knock that back. And then I would do some pruning to kind of allow some more airflow and some more light, if possible, back in that area. And that'll kind of clean that up. Next spring, in the fall, when those leaves drop, try to clean up all those leaves, because some of those will have fungal spores that are there. And then we're cleaning that area up in the fall. And then next spring, if you can do a dormant spray application before it buds out, that'll reduce the amount of overwintering disease on that, so that powdery mildew, and that will help as well. So a reminder, let's kind of, number one, try to allow more light into that area. If we can, prune a little bit of that 9-bark so that you're allowing, if you've just been globing it out and it's not allowing any good airflow, so try to think about some air circulation. And then when you're pruning, if you're pruning diseased sections, just wipe your pruners with bleach thereafter, so that we're not spreading the disease around. There you guys go. We're at 31 minutes, guys. I usually try to keep this to a half hour right here on the broadcast. To all those that are gardening this week, happy gardening to you. For those that will be joining me this afternoon in Niagara on the Lake, I look forward to seeing you. Once again, that's at Two Sisters Vineyards. That's going to be from 3 to 5. And I'll see you tomorrow morning on Breakfast Television, live with your weather. And it's going to be hot this week. The beginning of this week is icky, sticky hot. And a reminder, gardening, hey, I love it. Why? Because, it makes me feel good. And in the end, I get tomatoes. And this guy here likes a good time.